We are live.
We are live, yes. Yeah, it says live now. Hello, and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips. Joining me in this edition of Altered Geek Live is MovieRevolt Dan.
Hey man, how's it going? Exciting, breaking new ground for Altered Geek and Geekcast Radio.
I know we're testing things out for a future event.
Are we announcing? I think people know what the event is. We've talked about it a decent amount, right?
Oh yeah, I think I broke the event altogether on this very podcast.
Nice.
So yes, the top 100 wrestlers.
Exciting. It's definitely going to be different for us. I know we have a lot of. I mean, we have the not open mics. That's on the show. Mayhem mics.
Mm-hmm.
That's been pretty popular, and I don't talk about wrestling that much, but I'm actually quite a big. I was a big wrestling fan. I haven't been into it as much, but from I don't know, 4th grade to college, I was really big into wrestling. So it should be a fun countdown. Very different, outside of movies and animated stuff. So it should be a good time.
Oh yeah, and it'll be interesting to hear what everybody has to say. I personally don't have all that much to comment on it, more so because I haven't watched wrestling in years.
Yeah,
I remember it in the 90s when they did the whole WCW, NWO. I never really followed WWF.
Interesting. I was a WCW guy too. I was more WCW than WWF. But WCW kind of got wacky near the end, got real bad. But yeah. So that's what's my heart. I actually started working on my top 100. I actually put out on Twitter a few weeks ago my personal top 10 as I'm working through it. It's tough. It's tough because you think, especially because a lot of the wrestling stuff, I never watched some of the Lou Thez and people from the 50s and 60s. I never really sat down and watched classic wrestling. So it's just going based upon people say Bruno Sammartino. He's obviously well known, but I've never really watched a Bruno match because it's not readily available or anything. But yeah.
The funny thing is I've been putting together something for GCRN Wars for Kevin, and it's been fun because I knew absolutely barely any of these characters. The funny part is, and I'm going to see if I can if I can pull one of these up on here. He gave me a list and he gave me some criteria of some characters, and I created these essentially baseball card setup for these team ups, because I believe this tournament's going to be about teams.
Tag teams back again.
A little bit more out there for sure. So there's ECW, NWO, WCW, WWE, and WWF.
Nice
wrestlers. And so, for instance, let's see if I can get this one to show up. Let's see.
Wait, if people check on the YouTube channel, I actually have a video a few weeks ago where I got a toy bin from growing up that I hadn't opened in forever when I went home. Nice. I went through. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Some of the stats. This is basically how it's going to look for the tournament. So, but
the Brothers of Destruction.
Oh yeah.
I always thought it was unfair when they kind of got together. It's come on now. And Undertaker's still wrestling. He's still going. I wouldn't say going strong, but he's still going.
That's sure. It was fun putting these together just because I was okay, I've heard of half of these. I've heard of parts of these. Some of them I didn't realize how much they crossed over with other wrestling organizations.
Yeah. Because you have the Dudley Boys who were in WCW. They were in ECW, WWE. Steiner Brothers for sure.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I've seen those names come across on my my listings here that I had to put together. So it was quite entertaining. There's, I believe, 32 sets, and some of these teams have more than 2 people.
4 Horsemen, maybe, or I guess NWO had like by the end they had like a 15 people, or like they had like 30 people.
Yeah, they like it was like the entire WCW, like
because they had the black and white, and then they had the Wolfpack with red and black, and then they had the LWO, and then just went kind of crazy.
When they started going Wolfpack and like the white and black NWO, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm like, they're just crazy now.
I had a glow in the dark NWO T-shirt. It was like, I remember like when I went on vacation one year, and it was down south where my sister, she lives in North Carolina, and it was, I didn't realize wrestling was like an entirely different thing there compared to where I grew up. And there was like this huge wrestling store, and it was just a wrestling store. Like I didn't even know those things existed, and they had just so many shirts, and I got like a bunch. That was back when Goldberg was like really starting out. And so I got like a Goldberg shirt, and then they also had wrestlers there over the week. The one weekend they had George. Oh, jeez, what is his name? George. He was a WCW wrestler. His gimmick was like he was sergeant, like a military marine. The Pitbull, I forget his exact name, but they also had the Bushwhackers and Abdullah the Butcher. It was interesting, but yeah, like I said, I can talk wrestling more so than I let on, because it's like one of those things where. Not some people are really into it, some people aren't, So
yeah, I remember going and seeing it at a sports arena local to me one year, and it was a long time ago. I can't remember. I know Sting was there, DDP, and some other people, but then there's actually a local flea market close to me that about half of their toy store is wrestling.
Really? Content. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of wrestling toys. Yeah, I went to a few live events. I went to WCW Nitro one year. It was near its end. It was still kind of going. Sid was, I think, the champion then. And the biggest thing that happened was Ric Flair came out and did like did a promo, and he was actually a heel at the time. But the promo was so over that like I think by the end of it, like. I don't even remember what it was about, but Terry Funk was there too. It was an interesting. It was actually right before Stacy Keibler became really popular, because she had this gimmick of being, I think her name was Mrs. Hancock, who's Stacy Keibler, who eventually went to go out with George Clooney, and it was like right before she became like Stacy Keibler, yeah. And I went to, like, we had some of our local place, like that weren't televised, just the house shows, and the one where it was when Goldust first started debuting, and I never saw so many people hate him, and so much so that someone actually got out of the crowd and took his wig and ran away.
That's funny.
But yeah, because there's like people like hated that character. I remember being a kid and hating him, but because I was a huge fan of Razor Ramon and Ahmed Johnson back in the day, But good old days.
That's funny.
But that does kind of, because one thing we were talking about beforehand was we're one of the people, we're some of the people on Geek Ass Radio that have kids, and it had me thinking, like, would wrestling be something I would definitely different now? Like, it's nothing like the Attitude Era, which I wouldn't show a child, but being a dad yourself, like, how much have you? There's that challenge, that balance of what do you share with your kid and what haven't you? Like, how have you gone about it so far?
It kind of depends. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I just don't let them get access to anymore. There was some like the Batman, the Brave and the Bold I've shown before, because it's cartoony. They've seen like a lot of Disney films. I haven't shown them a lot of DreamWorks, because that a lot of their stuff has a lot more of and I've noticed it more becoming apparent on Pixar that they do it too. But DreamWorks has a lot of innuendos in there, and so kind of obvious ones.
Shrek for sure. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, it just dawned on me. I saw a comment because they were showing something about the Three Little Bears on Twitter. Somebody posted, mind blown, after for the first film, and they show them in cages, and then they show later on that the dad is sitting with the son, Little Bear, at the fire at Shrek's swamp or whatever, and then they show on the king's floor is the mama bear, like, as his rug. And,
really?
And it didn't dawn on me until then, but then it also didn't dawn on me the name of the king.
Hornswoggle, or is it
Farquaad?
Farquaad.
Yeah, his name is,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that just finally dawned on me, 15, 20 years after it came out.
I mean, even you had the old Disney movies that they'd sneak things in, like all those like hidden urban legends and stuff. Some of them which are true, where they would try to, there was like the Little Mermaid had a bunch of them, with how they depicted the castles to look certain ways. That's just it, and stuff like that. So, I know my kid's only 3, so like I just find it interesting because I feel like when people talk about like parents living vicariously through their kids, it's usually like people talking about like, oh, a dad that played football and their kids playing football, so they're trying to live through their kid. But I feel like sometimes geeks do that too, where people like do fandoms where, like, if you go to Target, for example, and you go to like buy T-shirts, there's like T-shirts that are just for kids that their kids are gonna like, that have like trucks and dinosaurs and stuff like that are pretty cheap. And then you go and you look over, and they're the same type of material, but they have like Red Hot Chili Peppers and like Star Wars and stuff that like a 3-year-old really doesn't care that much about. They're like twice the price though, because they know that adults will like give this T-shirt to their kid. Like a 3-year-old doesn't know who the Red Hot Chili Peppers are. A 12-year-old barely knows who they are. But I think that there's that, I think, desire to like, I like this, so I want my kid to like this. And I think there's something to that, because you like to share and bond with your kids by sharing things you love. I think that's certainly a piece of it. But I think I try to not like, I'm very mindful of not like, I love comics and superheroes, that I put my kid in, in superhero stuff all the time, or like he does like some superhero stuff. Like he knows who Superman is, not necessarily because of me, but because of just kids at school. And and I have like actually was given from Greg, who I do Talkings in Circles with. He gave me a Funko Pop, the only one I own, of Superman, and my kid likes playing with it. And he recently just started getting into Batman, because we at New Comic Book Day, I brought him with me, and he got like a Batmobile. He likes it because it's a car. But then I started watching. It's the Batmobile. It's that. Unfortunately, I don't have it. It would be perfect to show you. It's the Adam West Batmobile. It's like a bank. It doesn't even move. And then I started. They actually have on Amazon now. They did some Adam West cartoon Batman shows that are very much in line with the TV show, but animated. Adam West. Seen those. Yeah, and they're much more kid friendly. So I started watching them, and he loved it because the car he had was on this TV screen. But like I try not to like, I love this thing and I want to make sure that you like it too. And like, you see that a lot where parents are like, your cartoons today stink. They're not as good as mine. But if my dad said that to me growing up, I'd be like, I like my cartoons. I know you like I feel like we have, it's striking that balance. I feel like it's sometimes challenging, where you want to share things, but you also don't want to like not allow them to discover things, because I became fans of things that I am fans of in large part because I discovered them myself. But at the same time, it's fun to, obviously share things that you enjoy.
Yeah, and every generation seems to have their own set of shows that are similar or a follow-up of the previous show. And I don't push any of my stuff on my kids. If they see it, that's one thing. Like, and then they're like, "Hey, what's this?" And then I'm like, "Well, this is this," because like I've got.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like this sits on my desk, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Well, that's my favorite starship." And then they're, and then Blanchard sends me this for my birthday. Literally the only Funko Pop that I own. And they're like, "Who is that guy?" And I'm like, "Well, he plays music." And they're like, "What kind of music?" And I'm like, "Nothing you're gonna listen to right now." So it's rather entertaining. And then when because I was going through like a massive toy purge recently, and like comics purge, and I've been selling random stuff. Actually, all that behind me is Star Wars.
Wow.
All of these bins right here. And I have a whole nother section over there of comic books. and I'm unloading it all because when I was unemployed, my stepdad gave me all of this, and he's like, sell it on eBay. And I'm like, okay. And so like I've sold about a tote and a half worth of stuff, and then a lot of it's not going anywhere because some of it's like not worth anything. I'm not even sure what to do with the cards. Like I have the collectible cards, like those bins right there are cards, and I have no idea what to do with them.
Yeah. I don't think people even do cards anymore.
They do, but they have a whole new set of them now, and these are from like 1999. So I have no idea what they're even worth, or if they're even worth messing with, and I have to find somewhere to off them. And I have like a lot of Dark Horse comics too, that I gotta offload that are from the 90s, like the Dark Empire and like all that.
Oh, those Star Wars. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like, but I try not to push anything on my kids because like I don't want them to just like something because I liked it, or like the only thing I've pushed on them is probably Legos because you can.
Legos are good because they can be educational. They're good actual fine motor crafting and stuff like that too.
Yeah, and like my wife had actually tell me to stop building things for the kids because they weren't building things. They were like, Dad, I want this. And they're like, build it. Like I'm like, okay. And then I would just randomly just put something together. And then they're like, it's funny because they have like airplanes that I built out of all these like massive spare parts and all kinds of other things. And I showed them because I had like the Lego Spirus and the Robo Stalker from the 90s. And they're like, when I get older, can I have that? I'm like, yeah, when you learn how to not, destroy half your stuff, you can have them. Because like my first Lego that I remember getting a kit for was that Spirus robot. Okay. And it was the first thing I built with my dad. And so like when I build with, my kids, I help them build stuff. Like they've got airplanes, they've got, animals and dinosaurs. And so I've showed them how to build robots and everything. So I mean I try not to push any of that stuff on them. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And then I kind of filter some stuff because like a lot of the and I'm not saying that people can't like like Deadpool or Venom or stuff like that, but I saw somebody post Venom's a family friendly film, and I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, I don't know.
Venom's like, big thing. He likes to eat people. I don't know if that's really family friendly.
Yeah, well, they're like, well, it's not rated R, and I'm like, it's still not kid friendly at all.
It doesn't seem. I mean, even like some of the because my kid's only 3, so I'm not even going into the Marvel films at all anytime soon. But yeah, I wouldn't. Definitely not Venom. Even like Dark Knight's PG-13, but I wouldn't show a kid that. I was traumatized from Batman Returns as a kid. Like the Penguin and the whole it was just that is a really because I could be wrong. I think that's only rated PG, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that movie is.
I'm not sure.
That movie is really freaky. As a kid, as an adult watching it, you're just like penguins with weapons. It's weird because it's like it's kind of wacky because it has that Adams has that 66 series wackiness to it, and then it's also like rather dark. Tim Burton. It's Tim Burton. But yeah, it's the same thing. Like I have this. My son plays with something. He has no idea who this is. A gigantic apocalypse. That was a Build-A-Figure. This is like one of the first Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures that they had. And he likes playing with it. He has no idea who Apocalypse is, but he just likes scaring because it looks kind of scary. So he tries to scare us as he's running around the house trying to frighten us. But so like right now, my kid's only 3, so his favorite things are anything truck related and car related. Like he'll have a ball doing that. Actually, recently, so I took him to get a haircut this past weekend, and they had this those cars they have that you cost like $1.50, and they kind of go up and down, and they had one that's like I tweeted out a picture of it. It's like Future Mobile, but it's like it's like the dollar store version of Batmobile. Like my son's like, oh, it's a Batmobile. Like you're not fooling a 3-year-old. I don't know how you're getting around the copyright laws, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, I always thought about that because I used to, I don't write the articles as much, but I used to have this line of blogs about movies to show my son. And the point of it was like, you know, because growing up, like my dad would show me a lot of movies too, like that I'm glad that he did, because there's, you know, stuff that I probably wouldn't have watched as a kid, like something like Cool Hand Luke, for example. It's just kind of finding the right age for it, because, you know, and kind of expanding their horizons outside of like YouTube. Though I don't let my kid watch YouTube anymore.
I let my kid watch some YouTube. For instance, like we build playlists on YouTube, and then let the kids like watch through those playlists. And I have a lot of ad blockers, installed, and so they block any kind of ad that I'm not wanting them to watch. I mean, it'll put like a 30-second delay or so on it, like it'll just be black screen for like 30 seconds, and then it finally loads. But it still like bypasses it, and I don't have to worry about them seeing something random, or if it's stuff that I have them watch frequently, and it's like it's just somebody's YouTube channel, and it's not something that is like obviously you can't have copyrighted material anymore on YouTube.
No, people find a way though. Some people do. Like my son used to watch. There used to be these random, like, I don't even know how they would do it, but they would have Superman and Batman characters, and they'd be like driving cars from cars, and it was weird. It was like computer animated that would show up, and it was really odd, and had like nursery rhymes in the background. It was really freaky, and that's when once he like stumbled upon one of those, I'm like, all right, well, we're not using this anymore. And so I took it away, because he used to watch it for this thing called Little Baby Bum, which is like nursery rhymes and stuff like that. But like once, like after one ended, like that came on, I'm like, this is weird, because we used the YouTube Kids app. But then I was like, okay, well, we're done with this. And so, you know, if we watch anything right now, I usually try to push Daniel Tiger, because it's like, you know, it's wholesome.
It's clean.
And it's, you know, Fred Rogers related. So
I let the kids watch, like they've like the old Mr. Rogers, because they have like those little educational segments with Mr. McFeely, where they go to a factory, or they watch this get made or something like that. So they get kind of a kick out of that. And actually LeVar Burton has something like that. It's LeVar Burton Reads or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Because he can't use Reading Rainbow. They had like a falling out, the two companies, and they tried to sue him over like the "don't take my word for it," you know, thing. And he's like, "I came up with that."
That seems like a weird thing to sue for. Yeah. I mean, that's all.
And so like he still does stuff for them periodically, but like they were trying to like screw with him over the stuff. And so like he's got his own service now, where he goes on like these kind of field trips in a sense, and like shows you like, you know, how stuff gets recycled, or how, you know, all these different scenarios in addition to the reading stuff. And so it's kind of like added stuff for like homeschool or like curriculum purposes, and kind of interesting. Cool. And I've shown that to my kids, and they kind of enjoy that.
It's kind of similar to, like, it's not on Netflix anymore, but there was a show called Mighty Machines, which was like this public access show from Canada in the 90s that Netflix had on. And like, it was brilliant, because they probably made tons of money, because legitimately they would just go out and like, it was almost like B-roll footage. It would just be them like plowing streets of snow in Canada, and they put like voiceover, and like, you know, it was like the cars had voices. And my kid loved it, and it was like, it was the most mundane thing in the world, because it was just like legitimately machines. It was just big, gigantic machines just doing like everyday tasks, but they were, you know, machines and stuff like that.
B-roll with voiceover.
Yeah, and I'm like, they must have made so much money. Well, I mean, it's public access, so in Canada, so they didn't make that much. But I know they sold them. I remember seeing the like the VHS commercials back in the 90s. But it has a very catchy theme song too. A lot of them are actually on YouTube too. Like, there's like, it's really weird. I'm like, I don't know why he likes it, but then I'd also get kind of sucked into watching it too, and it's like super relaxing somehow. But yeah, because there's some of the kid stuff, like you know, he tends to go in phases a little bit. Like, he loves Toy Story right now, and we're actually trying to think of like what we're doing for Halloween already, which is crazy. And I don't want to do like superheroes, because I'm like, that's going to be a thing in the future. Like last year we did a monkey, because he loves Curious George. So we're thinking maybe doing Woody because he loves Woody because he calls Toy Story Woody, which I appreciate because that way he likes the substance of Woody over the flashiness of Buzz. So I think it's a good sign. But I also thought about dinosaurs because he loves dinosaurs. But that's like, you know, just trying to think of. Can't believe we're already thinking of costumes for Halloween. But it's next thing you know, it's going to be here. So.
But. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how everything kind of plays out when you have kids compared to when you're just a geek that's just, you know, salivating over your own stuff, and then you've got the kid kind of deciding, you know, I like this, I don't like this. Yeah. Because
your kid's 5 now, or 4 or 5?
I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh man, so that's interesting. Yeah, I just have a 3-year-old, so he's, you know. 5's a fun age because you're kind of like, you know, we still be in kindergarten. So luckily for 3-year-olds are usually easy to please when it comes to keeping their attention. But it's just interesting because I always thought about that because I'm very mindful because I see a lot of people that like they just try to make their kids into their mini selves, and like they dress the same and they have, and I don't want to be that. Like I don't want to be like I don't want to take everything I love and like push it onto my kid because you know, like I want him to like the same things I do, but at the same time I kind of do want him to like the things I do, but on his own. So we'll see. But
yeah, they like when they see stuff like
nice.
This is actually my original Optimus Primal from when I was a kid. I had forgotten about it. And the funny thing was I made, like when we were kids, we had to trade items sometimes. Like if we did chores and we were trying to, like I wanted the Transmetal Optimus Primal.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a lesson in greed as a kid. Because I lost out on numerous toys that I didn't see again until the Star Wars boxes appeared behind me. Because they were in there. And this particular figure was the one that I traded for the Transmetal version. And so I lost this version. And then because I had 2 of them, I actually traded my brother one of these at one point. And then I since sold it. I have the masterpiece one of this, which I bought.
That's one that you don't let your kids play with, I'm assuming.
So like the masterpiece is like, no, you can't touch that one. That's like $130 gold that's not being touched. But it's screen accurate. I want the Megatron that's coming out, but that's like almost $300, and I'm like, I can't pay for something like that. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's screen accurate, and I really want it. But yeah, I couldn't spend that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if enough of this sold, I would, but
yeah. So because it's like actually. So I just recently started buying. If you watch our YouTube channel, like I've been buying comics again, physical comics, because for a long time, like for most of the last few years, I've really just been reading digitally or like going to the library and picking stuff up. Like right now, I have a huge pile of books that I've read from the library. Nice. I still do. I get most of my stuff from the library because it's cheap. I mean, it's free. And, you know, it lets me try things for new. But I started picking up stuff just because I'm like, you know what? Like it's something I would like to share one day or at least give to him. And also because I want to read it myself. But if you check out our YouTube channel, I've been doing comic hauls and videos and stuff like that. And there's been a few comics I picked up just because I think when he gets older, you might enjoy reading them. But it's, you know, a long-term investment. You never know. But because I was going through some of my collection, and because I went away from physical media for a very long time, because I don't really buy movies anymore. I had like a huge collection that I still have some, but I sold a bunch of them just because like I didn't really need them, and the only thing I really buy now is like Disney movies. But like if I don't like buying something physical if there isn't like a digital piece along with it. Like that's one thing I love about Marvel comics. There's a lot of bad things about Marvel comics, but one of the good things is when you buy a Marvel comic right now, it comes with a digital copy of it, which I like because if you buy a comic, there's a long short box behind me. You buy it, you read it, and you throw it in the box, and you probably never see it again. But at least with a digital copy, I can if I ever want to reread it, I have quick access to it. Same thing with a movie. I can just pop on Amazon now that they have movies anywhere, which was fantastic. Which now, like, because that's the thing I hated about digital copies for movies, is that they had like 18 different platforms. Now that's on one, it makes it a lot easier. So like I don't like buying. Like DC doesn't do that. DC does it like one-offs here and there. Like I can find it. Yeah, it's on here. Like Action Comics 1002, for example, had a digital copy, but a lot of them don't.
Well, it depends. It depends. I used to go to, back when I worked at the car lot, they used to do 2 editions. They had them side by side. They would sell one with the digital copy and one without of a lot of the DC stuff. Yeah,
they don't do that anymore. Now they do it like specific issues, like Batman 50. Like when you bought that came with a digital copy of it because it was a milestone issue. Different, like, but it's not all the time, which is kind of annoying. I like buying. I don't mind indie comics because like I like supporting indie comics because they don't have the cachet of that of a Marvel or DC. But I just feel like if you're selling physical media at this point in any form, like not providing a digital copy along with it seems, I don't know, like a bad choice because I don't think it costs you anything extra. I could be wrong. But it just seems like a good way of that way. I'm like, if I buy the digital version, it's going to cost the same if I buy the physical version. So might as well get the physical version because I get both. So I don't know. It's a good way to like support like local comic book stores that way.
I can kind of see that. I haven't physically collected comics in a number of years. Yeah. I mean, I've read them here or there. But I mean, I've got some Star Wars ones I've been kind of thumbing through just because I'm like, I haven't read that in X amount of years. And then I kept all of my Dreamwave Transformers comics and Beast Wars comics, and then there's a few Star Trek ones that I kept from that DC had published back when they had the original rights. I think that they started at DC and then they moved to like Image and like Paramount.
Transformers?
Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they started. They're with IDW now, I think.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Transformers. They started at Marvel, and so did G.I. Joe, and then G.I. Joe jumped around between like Devil's Due, Image, and then a couple other companies, and then they went to IDW, and Transformers went from Marvel to Dreamwave to IDW.
Yeah, IDW has a lot of licenses. So does Dark Horse. Although I feel bad for Dark Horse because they had the Star Wars license, and then Disney bought Star Wars, and then we're like, okay, well, we still have Alien and Predator and Buffy and Firefly, like all the Fox properties, and now Disney's buying all that. So
I know that's going to be.
So I don't know if they're going to lose all those comics too at some point. But I mean, Dark Horse has a lot of good, like creator-owned, like Black Hammer, for example, which is right here. It's a fantastic series. That's it's an original property, but I do kind of, because I know licensed properties, there's some benefits to them. Like IDW has a lot of licensed properties, almost too many. Boom does too. Boom has a lot of the Disney related, although they have a lot of Nickelodeon stuff now. They did like Rugrats and Power Rangers, and they had a Rocko's Modern Life comic, but they do. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if we're coming up on time. I don't know how long we've been doing this for.
It's fine. Yeah. Another funny thing. I was talking about figures I discovered. I actually found this.
Man, that's a pretty good likeness for Captain Kirk.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of battle damage on it, but it was. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It was from that set where you had to get all 7 characters at the cardboard bridge of the Enterprise. Yes. And we actually bought, I think, 2 or 3 sets so we could each have some of the various characters and kind of rotate through it. The other thing that my boys like, they don't care about that. They're like, "Who's that?" They don't even care. I have like the spacesuit Kirk, the green uniform, and then I have the movie edition as well. But they like this.
Wow, nice. Kermit the Frog.
Yeah, it's I'll Kermit the Frog here, and they think it's hilarious. So they'll be like, "Get Kermit."
That's awesome.
And then they'll run around, put their hand in it.
Where do you get a Kermit from?
Funny enough, Toys R Us.
Really? I'm going out of business? Or?
No, I bought it about 5 years ago. Or no,
not back when they sold things.
It was 3 years ago. It's got the FAO thing on it. Yeah, Toys R Us sold them, and it's just puppet.
Oh, yeah.
I was hoping to get the entire and then have the sticks for the hands, but I was like, I'll settle. And then so like I walk around and I'll do stuff like this, and the kids think it's hilarious. So like my youngest, he's it's funny to watch him because his hand doesn't even like go in the mouth, but he'll just go, and then he'll go like that, and then they laugh. So
that's funny. Yeah, I have this. So this is kind of interesting. This is kind of broke. You can kind of see, but like so. I'll bring my camera up. There's actually I usually have 2 shelves, but the one shelf actually fell down. When I heard a big bang come from this room, and I'm like, "What was that?" And one of my shelves fell down, which is weird because it's been here for years, so I don't know what caused it to fall down. But so that's why I'm kind of lower on it because I don't look at an empty shelf. But one thing that broke was this little guy. He has like a hand missing, but it's a bobblehead from Rail Riders, which is this local where I grew up. They're the farm team for the Yankees, but it's kind of cool because the bottom, it's the player's name is Chance Solo, so they made him dress up like Han Solo, and he's like on the Millennium Falcon. I have another one that's actually not broken, but it was when I took it to a baseball game when I was home with my dad. Way too young for baseball. I might be too. A lot of people are too young because it's kind of a slow game, but it was interesting. It was now I got to fix my shelf. I don't know what happened. It's just like I don't know if it's just because it didn't have that much on it, but it just decided to fall down. Luckily, it wasn't too bad because it's right near my computer. Because I'm on my laptop right now, but it fell right on my PC. But luckily, it didn't break. It didn't break it. So
I kind of hope to. Behind me after I get all this crap cleaned up, get a green screen. I really want a green screen. And that way I can kind of put I don't know, like just scenery behind me, maybe something from a movie or something, nice. That way I can just kind of randomly change it around. But I think it would be kind of fun. I joked around with my wife to begin with. I was like, we could just paint the wall green and then I'll just, and she's like, no, it has to be able to be folded away. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to get
like a curtain or something like that, maybe. Or...
I have one. The only problem is I don't have proper lighting to make it look decent.
Yeah.
And then I have to pin it to the ceiling with thumbtacks. And so it's kind of a royal pain to deal with. And so I'm like, I'm going to buy one of those like fold up ones that go into a bag and then they like spring back out and then mount it to the back of my chair. And then it's rotatable where it can turn, you can have green screen or blue screen.
That's cool. Yeah. It might see, I just have this that's behind me. This is my work desk. So, cause I work at home almost 3 days a week now. So it's kind of nice but it looks kind of, I put my wife got this for me for a birthday gift a few years ago. And cause you can kind of see there's like a movie poster that's going to be glaring with that's a good, Goodfellas poster. And if you look even higher, on the top, there is a poster for Jurassic Park and Sandlot, which are some of my favorite movies.
And the movie quotes.
Yeah, and the movie quotes. Those are kind of cool because you just like they come on this thing where you just stick them on the wall. They're like a decal. I'm not looking forward to having to take them off when we eventually move, but for now they look great. So there's like a lot of them. There's Live Long and Prosper, May the Force be with you, and stuff. So it's because I was much more in the movies than the comics when we kind of built this, and I've kind of altered it. Yeah, and mostly because it's easier because I can get comics from the library a lot easier than I can get movies, and I don't go to the movies nearly as much because it's like $80 to watch a preview. But have you taken your kids to the movies at all? Ever?
Surprisingly, only once.
Nice.
My son, we took him. It was probably 2-3 years ago. We took him and he saw Paddington in the theater, the first one.
Yeah, how'd that go?
He had like zero interest. He didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he watched like maybe 20 minutes of it, and then he was running around the aisle majority of the time. And we were like, yeah, this no. So like the most they've gotten is at home. But funny enough is they really enjoy documentaries.
Really?
Yeah, which
that's impressive.
Animal documentaries, but it's still documentaries.
Okay.
Which it took me a number of years. Like if you would have asked me, I don't know, like 3 years ago, I would fall asleep during a documentary. I even told that to my college professor. I was like, you put this on, I'm going to sleep. Like, I'm not going to pay attention. He's like, well, you're going to fail the test. And I'm like, we shall see. And then like, I would get like 80%, like just, I would comprehend enough information, but like have my eyes closed and not actually be there mentally. And, but yeah, we get the kids so that they'll watch it, but we don't let them watch a lot of like high impact, video, and we don't like, we have a tablet, but it's like limited access. Kind of like when we were kids, like where we didn't really have like instantaneous access to technology. So I've kind of done that with kids. Like I make them aware of how to use it, and the proper way to treat it and everything, but I don't let them have it because I'm a little too glued to that. So as is my wife, since we got smartphones, and so it's one of those things where we just don't want them getting hooked on it. So I've taken my son to, well, I took him to see Cars 3, if like, was that last year? We made it to like halfway through, and then he was kind of like, he wasn't like going crazy, but he could just tell he was done. He lost interest, so we left. And then this past year they were having like, the local theater was like having cheap nights. It was like $5 and it was like Secret Lives of Pets, but that was already been out. But I'm like, hey, maybe I'll give him, I'll go see it. Maybe he'll like, just to see what the experience is like. And because it was like a rainy day, there was like, and it was kind of set up being stuck inside. So we saw that he did really well. Like, and it went, the best part, his favorite part was we got candy, and like that's what he referred to it as, not really seeing a movie. He was more like, we went to get candy, and like we also saw a movie that we made it like 99% of the way through. And then earlier this past summer we tried to take him to the drive-in, and it worked. It worked too well. So it was interesting because they were showing Land Before Time, and then Jurassic World, and then Ocean's 8. And like the first movie starts at like 8:45, which is like 45 minutes past his bedtime. So we're like, okay, well, by the time that movie's over, he'll be sleeping, so we'll be able to watch Jurassic World. Because everything comes through the speakers, so we'll be able to put him, like, we had his cot out and stuff like that, so he'd be able to fall asleep in the back of our SUV. And he stayed awake, and he was all the way through. And when Jurassic World started, he was just wide awake. And I'm like, he can't stay up for this because this will cause nightmares. So we were like, all right, well, we got to go, and we left, very soon into it. So it was like, it didn't end up working out because we both wanted to see Jurassic World, but none of my family lives around here and lives around us, so we don't have babysitters. So we don't really, if we ever go out, it's usually like if we can do, like, my wife's off and like I can get off, and we do go during the day, which we ended up doing it like the next week after that. But yeah, so like the drive-in worked too well. Maybe we might do it again some other time. Maybe when it's like whatever movies are playing are all kid appropriate. But I was like, yeah, I don't want him to watch Jurassic World because he loves dinosaurs, but I don't think, obviously seeing human beings getting eaten by dinosaurs would be ideal for a 3-year-old. So we ended up leaving. But it was fun. Yes. I like to drive in, but it's also kind of a hassle because it was also kind of rainy. So but it's a good experience if the weather holds up. Yeah, I forgot we actually took our kids to that once, to the drive-in, and it was with their grandparents. But
nice.
So they had their cousin to hang out with, and I think we watched it. I can't remember what it was. It was some Disney movie.
Yeah. They're not. I mean, it's perfect for families because it's really, like, it's cheap. It was like, it was like $5 a person or $6. I don't know. If for like 3 movies, if we could stay for them. I know we weren't going to stay for the third one because I would be falling asleep. But then we went. That's where I think we tried to go again. I don't remember, but it was interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I'll say that having kids and kind of doing a lot of that compared to just randomly being able to watch something.
I know. I used to go to the movies every weekend, and the last movie I saw in theaters was Infinity War. I haven't gone since then. I usually try to catch the Marvel movies. Like I still haven't seen Solo yet. I still haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp. I haven't seen most of some.
I've seen those, but I didn't see any of those. I haven't seen a single movie this year in theater, and it's more so because I just don't get. I don't have time. I don't go out, and Blanchard's like, you got to see Transformers the movie in theater when it comes back in September, and I'm like, I just don't care. I own it.
I know. Like, there's something about seeing your favorite film like in theaters. Like if my local theater is playing, like it's a great like indie theater, and they're playing like Jaws. And I'm like, I would love to see Jaws on the big screen, but it's like, I don't know. I feel and it's not like full price, which is kind of appreciated. But I don't know. Like it's a lot of time. Like especially if you go to like a new movie, because if it starts at 12, you have 30 minutes of previews, and you have to drive there, and then it actually starts. Now, like every movie nowadays, it's like 2.5 hours. So you end up like taking 4 hours out of your day, and it's like time is precious. It's like I gotta do laundry, and it's like so old.
That's how I kind of feel about it. I mean, we've got so much stuff to do around here. I mean, house falling apart left and right, painting stuff.
Gotta get a green screen.
Yeah, gotta get the green screen. Got a lot of crap I gotta clean up and work on. I mean, obviously my office is a mess, which is nothing new. But it's just that, and then trying to get motivation, because there's times where I don't feel like recording at all, and so I'll sit here, and then I'll be like, what's on Hulu tonight, and then sit there and watch that and attempt to be creative and productive, which doesn't always turn out.
That's why I haven't done much podcasting, because I kind of got into doing a lot of the YouTube stuff. I don't know why. I find it's honestly a lot easier to do, because it's easier just to kind of throw the camera on. And I know there's a lot of people that do a lot of editing, and if you watch my videos, I don't do that as much. I kind of just let it roll and talk. But it just I want to go back to doing more podcasting, but it's just I felt kind of doing both was a little too much, and I don't know. I felt like I was getting more feedback with the YouTube stuff than it was the podcasting. So I'm like, this is where I'm getting more feedback. This is where I feel like I'm getting more attention. That's where I'm going to put it through. Even that, but we'll see how it goes. There's a cat.
Yeah. Yep. I always have that. That's my my co-host most nights. One of my video, because Powers would get a kick out of it. Cat's like, hey, gotta go get the water over there in the corner, or the food.
Nice.
But what's really funny is when a hand comes up like this right in front of the screen, because that will happen when the cat gets on my lap. But no, I mean, I've attempted to do some video shows, and I've added like editing, and it's more time consuming when you do a lot of editing, or you have you slide over and then you have something over here, and then you're trying to you're kind of like, look here, and something shows up, and then you're talking about that, which it's good as a visual if you don't have it, but it's a lot of time. And I could definitely see where, like, if you have like a comic or you have something and you're just like talking right here, and then you just kind of throw a fancy cover image on it, and then you're like, it's good. And then it definitely is a lot easier. Because like, for instance, for this, so that it'll go on the podcast feed, I would download this as a MP3, import it, add the intro music, add the outro music, slap the featured logo or banner on. A little bit of a process, but I'm hoping with the new site,
which is looking good from what I've seen. Just throwing that out there.
Thanks. And I'm wondering, this might be actually really fun to do, just as a kind of tease for the peoples on the the feed.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do this here. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's the new style or look. A couple of the things are missing featured banners because I haven't imported them yet.
Yeah.
But people will be able to watch the live stuff, be able to have like the news drop down, which is not cooperating right now. Podcasts. There'll be an actual place to actually find all the subscriptions.
Nice.
Which will be really nice. Old archive shows, the complete archives of new shows, even though they'll be kind of listed here. And I'll show that in a second. I'm going to have the videos. I'm going to try and import those. The interview section's got to totally revamp so it automatically like builds itself.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about because I don't like having to go in and do it. Articles, so like that'll just be kind of broken down, reviews more, so then there's like a plethora of other category breakdowns there, and then like you can follow on social media. It's not wanting to cooperate with me right now. Still can listen. It'll show what's on air. Subscribe to a newsletter, which hopefully will help boost traffic. Couple of blanks left to do, but yeah, overall gonna be fun. And then this I'm most proud about on the site is the new page sections so that people can find it in various places.
Nice.
They can listen right here on the website. They can go to the actual episode post on the website. And it only shows so many unless you hit that. And then if you hit load to archives, it just loads the whole category on its own. So
nice.
But that's the plan for every show. So hopefully people enjoy that when it gets done.
Yeah, it should be exciting, definitely, especially doing more live stuff and getting more interaction. It's fun to do. Get to see people, and I'm super excited because one of the reasons for doing this too is, like we mentioned up top, is kind of hoping to do this during a top 100, which definitely would bring a new wrinkle into it, because seeing our actual live reactions, because the way we do the top 100, the only person that actually knows the answers is the person that's usually Kevin or myself, whoever actually does all the number crunching. So
oh yeah, and that's going to be kind of fun as well as seeing how it plays out. It'll be an experiment. I mean, each one of the top 100s changes to some degree, and they evolve in some unforeseen manner.
And we usually always have a huge superhero bias, which I don't know you can do with wrestling unless like we made the Hurricane like number 2 on our list. So we'll figure out a way, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of missing people.
What about guest stars from like Arrow?
Yeah, Stephen Amell. Was it Stardust? Yeah, Stephen Amell, Celebrity Hall of Fame. But yeah, it's that should be interesting. And if you're like, one thing I know that Kevin's looking out for is people, because we don't have a lot of fellow podcasters that we know that are wrestling podcasters or fans. But if you are one, head up Kevin, and he's at Optimus Solo, and we're looking for more contributors, because the more people we get to do the top 100 that help make the list, the better it is, at least I think, because you get more of a, that way you're not just dealing with like the opinions of 2 people, but broader of the scope.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've always enjoyed about that. And at least we don't have to deal with giant plagiarism issues, like a particular site that we actually, this is the reason why we started the top 100 in the first place. Yeah. About somebody they had.
I heard about that, the whole IGN, like it was, their video guy, video game review person. And it just boggles my mind how you would think you'd get away with it, because like how copying it so verbatim, and especially when your site so big as IGN, with the creator that he copied it from wasn't even like a smaller creator. He was a decently sized creator. It just seemed like, I don't know. And then if they found out there was other stuff that he basically left it off people. So
well, they basically pulled the guy's entire his entire article log, and everything he ever made is off the site now. And they're like hand checking everything now. They're like, yeah, basically everything he did, he pulled from somewhere. And what boggles the mind is how this made it past the editor for so long. And because I mean, they're pretty big and they're owned by Ziff Davis at this point. Yeah. And they were like the guys that used to own Tech TV or ZDTV or whatever it was before Comcast bought them out. But because it became G4 at that point. But
I miss G4 a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
I miss ZDTV, Tech TV, and then when it went G4, I started losing interest. But that's more so just because I didn't have time. But yeah, it just boggles my mind how it made it that long since the guy was hired in October that they just didn't catch any of this, and the guy's just now getting caught. And that's something that you would have learned if you tried that trick in high school. Like, I tried it in high school because I wanted to be lazy and didn't want to read a book.
Yeah.
And my teacher, for as low tech as she was, knew what I did.
Yeah.
And called me out on it, like, in class. And then everybody knew I did it. Like, it wasn't like she did publicly like name me, but I knew and she knew and all my friends knew. And so she gave me back the paper and she's like, I want you to read it and return it in. And the highest you could get is, like a B or whatever. And I was like, okay. And then I turned it back in. And then, I kind of learned that lesson after that, because I had a lot of quotes that were like verbatim from where I pulled it. So I easily got caught. And so, like, I've never done that again. Like, and that was a high school lesson. Like, you would think that somebody would figure that out, like, past high school.
I know someone who did that in high school too. They bought a paper, and I forget how they got. I think it was something where the sources weren't matching up with the actual paper itself. I've never done that, but well, that's not true. I remember, so this was when I was really young, in fourth grade. Was it third or fourth grade? This is before I even knew what plagiarism was a thing. I was trying to do like extra credit, so I found this book about scorpions, and I'm like, I'll do a report on scorpions, and all I did was like write verbatim everything that they actually just said and handed it in, thinking like that would be like some amazing thing they'd be surprised by. And then like a couple of days later, we had to talk about plagiarism. I'm like, oh, and this is because of what I did. But it wasn't actually an assignment. It was just me trying to suck up, I guess. But that's also why I'm kind of mindful. Like, I try not to listen to reviews of stuff before I do my review, because sometimes I think it does happen naturally where like you'll listen to a movie review about something or TV review or something, and then you'll have a conversation about it, and then like sometimes something will come up and it could be based upon something you talked about. Because I don't want to listen to as many movie review podcasts as I used to, but when I did, I know I would listen to something from Film Spotting or other popular film podcasts, and then I would listen to more of like an independent, like lower key one, and I would hear like almost verbatim the same exact review. And I don't necessarily think they were trying to copy, but I think you could tell sometimes when like you hear something and then it helps impact your opinion, and then when you're actually trying to talk about it in some way. And sometimes it's just because if you're talking about the same thing, sometimes words will sound the same, but obviously when with IGN, it was too exact. Like it was the verbiage, not only like what they were talking about, but the verbiage was exactly the same. So it was clearly copywriting. But that's why I try to put my reviews out there before I even read or write or look at another one, just because sometimes it just can happen by not through malicious attempt, but just because it's it just kind of gets stuck in your head.
Yeah, that's something I heard Birdman talk about when he talked about this issue. Is he had mentioned that he writes up his review, he does his set thing, and then he goes and gets it pretty much ready to publish, and then he'll kind of scan and see if there's something that he missed. Bringing up from, just based on what somebody else's review of something that they may have remembered from said material. Yeah. And then be able to add something to it. But, for the most part, if it's something I've pulled from somewhere. Like I kind of say, you know, from this article, blah blah blah. Like, and just, I mean, it's not that hard just to say.
Yeah, and I hear that too, where people will quote like when they're reviewing something or talking about it, which I think is, you know, that's perfectly fine if you're like citing your source of it. Yeah, that's awesome too. When I try to like, I don't even I call myself reviews, but like I stopped putting like grades on stuff or like especially for the YouTube stuff. It's written, I still do if I do a written review, but just because like I enjoy more just talking about it and what I got out of it and what I like points about, like when I do a comic book review, like what I find interesting about what they're approaching or the execution of different things. And like, I guess because being able to talk to some creators, I feel like it's easy to read something or watch something and then talk about it and like give this like specific grade about something. It takes up one fraction of the time of actually creating something. And so it's like, I don't like to be, it just seems a little bit weird. It's like, this thing is awful. But you know, when someone put their time and effort to put into something. So I try to be fair and balanced. I'm probably much more positive on things than I should be, but also like, I'm only reading things I have interest in. So I'm unlike, you know, critics who have to watch, paid critics who have to read and watch everything. So like, you know, which I think is why they often become very cynical and broken people. And, you know, you get like, you know, whenever like something bad comes out, like I'm starting to see the reviews for Happy Time Murders, and they're like, they're vicious. They're like going after that movie. And I think sometimes just because it's, you know, it could just be that bad, or just because I think we live in a time and place where there's so much out there, you have to be the loudest voice if you want to get the attention. So you can't just say it was okay. You have to say, let me get my claws out and just try to rip it to shreds.
I think that's kind of the way our geek culture is now, is that if you're not making a mountain out of a molehill, you just don't get noticed.
Yeah.
And it's basically scream and see who's loudest.
Yeah, if it's not the best thing ever, it's the worst thing ever. It's like, you know, it's like you can't just be like, it's, you know, it was good. It was, you know, I mean, there's some obviously, you know, some examples of that not happening, but I think the general conversation behind things, it's often like there's those movies or those topics that just people keep talking. Like there's still people debating about Batman vs Superman to this day, like over that movie, and it's just like, can we just like go to bed and say like, we got our opinions. Can we like? I wish we could. There's certain debates in the geek world we can just say, okay, this one's done. We don't need to talk about this anymore. No one's gonna change. Last Jedi. We're done talking. This, like, all the conversations about the Last Jedi have happened. Nothing more can come out of it for now. Let's put I can't think of the word of it. An embargo on it for the next 5 years, and maybe after 5 years, there's more opportunity to revisit it and see. But I do feel like, because I do still see a lot of like Batman v Superman debates online all the time. I'm like, this, and it's the same type of conversation back and forth.
Yeah, I kind of wonder how a lot of these, you know, like they'll say, oh, so and so has this opinion on this, or, you know, and just bring up a random film that happened years ago that had controversy to just try and stir it up again. And there's really nothing. There's no new information. So like, it drives me nuts when I see like these big news websites trying, oh, we're reporting blah 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 blah, and it's like, yeah, we already knew that. Like when you reposted it, you know, 3 years ago, it's not new information, but they act like it is.
It's weird when articles like that kind of pop up that are a few years old. Like recently, an article was popping up about Hooters closing different stores, but it was like an article that was like 3 years old or something like that. But suddenly, people started sharing it again online. It became trending. It's weird where like, why is this suddenly a thing again? Because people are saying that millennials Hooters is closing because millennials don't like boobs, and I'm like, I think it's closing because their food isn't very good, and the internet exists, so there's no need for Hooters, because it's like you know, like you said, you're glued to your phone or your smartphone. You don't need to go to Hooters, and it's one thing if their food wasn't, you know, it's mediocre. Not to yell at all the Hooters fans, but I just found that sparked my that because you talked about like how things are kind of come back up over and over again.
And it's kind of sad too, because like it seems like as geeks we should be focusing on new things. Like I get it. There's points where people are, you know, like I hate the new Thundercats because it looks like X, you know, like I was like, I don't like the animation style. I don't know what the story is like, and I'm not the intended audience, and I'm not going to watch it. So like, I really don't care what they do. And it's the same thing with the new Star Wars cartoon that looks like Tron Uprising and Transformers Robots in Disguise 2015.
What's that one called?
Which one?
The new Star Wars cartoon?
It's Star Wars Rebellion.
Rebellion, okay.
Yeah, it's and it's got Poe Dameron training, you know, some of the new X-Wing fighters. And BB-8's in there, and General Leia's in there, and they've got some voice actors playing General Leia. But like Poe Dameron is being played by, I think Oscar Isaacs, or I think that's his name.
Yeah, he's actually doing the voiceover. Wow,
yeah, he's doing it. They've got a lot of. Well, I mean, that's I don't know how many episodes. I mean, that could be no different than Liam Neeson doing Qui-Gon and showing up,
Yeah,
in Clone Wars or something. But it's in. We also have the conclusion to Clone Wars being done too. So I mean, that's.
You watch that show? Clone Wars?
I didn't watch it, but I know enough about it. Plus, I watched all of Rebels, and I was kind of hoping to see the conclusion of that because they kind of jumped from before episode 4 to after episode 6 with the storyline within the last 5 minutes of the episode.
So when does Rebels take place? Is it in between?
It takes place before Rogue One, and it goes all the way until A New Hope. And then, like right up before that, because you get Obi-Wan Kenobi and everything else, and then
so after episode 3, but before episode, so it's like after episode 3, before Rogue One and A New Hope. And this time, like I feel like the entire timeline's going to become complete at one point in time. You
would think so. So it'll be interesting, but they did jump to after episode 6, and I guess they alluded to the fact that. At the end of the episode that I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they alluded to a certain hero and villain being still alive in the Outer Rim.
No.
Based on they had their own version of like the Star Trek Discovery tardigrade transwarp organic ship type thing.
Okay.
And these two particular characters got basically like they attached themselves to one of those and ended up going to light speed to wherever this location is in the Outer Rim. So it alludes to the fact that they're still alive.
Interesting.
After episode 6. So it still begs to wonder how that connects to episode 7. So I'm wondering if one of them may be like Snoke inadvertently.
Maybe,
which could be, I don't know, but I was kind of hoping for the continuation of that, but
so it's interesting because I just feel like it's always tough because like the Star Wars comics, for example, like they take place in between right now for Marvel, A New Hope and Empire, and like there's so much room you could like maneuver, right? Because it's like you can't, obviously you're not going to kill Luke because you want to have an Empire, so it's. I find it really, I think it's somewhat impressive if you have anything that's at all, like if it works at all when you're dealing with a condensed timeline like that. But I've heard really good things about Rebels and Clone Wars. I started watching Clone Wars because it's on Netflix, like the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, that was good. And then I just never went back to it for no reason. But I did start watching the new Matt Groening show, the guy who was behind Groening from Simpsons and Futurama. What is it called? Disenchantment?
Disenchantment.
Yeah, I watched like the first 2 episodes. It was okay. It grew on me. Like it was one of those things where I kind of had in the background. But it was interesting. It like Futurama took a little bit for me to get used to and like. So I've only watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and it was okay. I mean, it's like your bar is The Simpsons, and then also your bar is The Simpsons. So because like the good Simpsons and the bad Simpsons, So I don't know. Like it wasn't one that I'm like I'm just surprised it's not a bigger deal because it's like this is the guy who made The Simpsons and Futurama, and I don't really see. I think most people, from what I saw, the reviews weren't really great. But it was, I don't know.
Well, I think people have kind of switched gears from that now that Futurama is over and everybody's had, we've had Simpsons, we've had South Park, we've had Family Guy, we've had American Dad, we've had, now we're on I think they had I don't know what Bob's Burgers was, but I heard about that. And then everybody's on the Rick and Morty train now. So, it's kind of
true, which I've only watched the first two. I'm so bad. I've only watched the first 2 episodes of that. It just didn't really appeal to me.
None of those shows actually appeal to me anymore. So I don't watch any of it. So
I mean to, but it's it's tough because when I do watch TV, we try to watch something that my wife and I both would like, and it's hard because there's a really limited window of things that we both enjoy. Like Game of Thrones is one thing that we watch, and we're watching Westworld. I haven't seen the second season, but we started watching Moms on
CBS.
On Hulu, just because we both really like Alice and Janney because we love The West Wing, and I'm actually wow, that show was much better than I had anticipated. There's still some CBS-ness that
it's done by the guy that did 2.5 Men and Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. But I think having Alice and Janney and what's her name? Anna Faris? Not Anna. Is it Anna Faris?
Yep.
Anna Faris. I feel like they can power through some of the lesser material, but it ended up being much better than I anticipated. It's it's not fantastic, but like I said, it's both something we both kind of like it. So we've been watching. We're halfway through the first season, and then again, a lot of it's because Alice and Janney is an American hero, not hero, but I think she's a great actress because I like her in West Wing, and she's also in a few other movies that I enjoy. And what was the last thing she was in that was really big? Tanya. She was nominated. She won an Oscar for it. But it was a good show. I much more I had low expectations because I don't usually like anything that CBS puts out sitcom wise, and I usually don't like kind of classic sitcoms. So I'm that actually kind of it feels nice because I do kind of miss those classic sitcoms. I started watching Home Improvement again because it showed up on one of the streaming channels. I'm I do kind of miss it a little bit. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old, but
I think it's because it's almost like you come full circle and everything kind of kind of goes that route. We were watching Boy Meets World, Step by Step, all the TGIF shows and on Hulu, and I'll watch Star Trek usually while I'm editing or I'm playing a game or I'm doing graphics. I'll have my main screen where I'm doing all the stuff on, and then I'll have on my other screen I'll have TV playing or a movie. I watched 2 episodes of Trek the other night from 2 different series, and then had a movie play, and then so we do that. I've watched Home Improvement again, which I enjoy it, but I at the same time I don't, because it's kind of a rinse and repeat.
Yeah. I don't. It very much is. Again, I haven't watched it's something I'll throw on because I work at home. But during lunch I usually go out and I'll just pick a show for 30 minutes to watch. But recently I've been watching Hard Knocks on HBO, which is, for those that don't know, Hard Knocks is it chronicles the training camp of a different football team each year. This year it's the Cleveland Browns, and even if you hate football, Hard Knocks is really compelling because I guess it's like reality TV in a way, but it's actual reality somewhat. But it's kind of fun because there's this clip going around of this one offensive lineman coach from the Cleveland Browns who looks to me, he looks like a human Dr. Seuss character. He's really big. He's got a gigantic mustache, and he was going off against. He had this. It kind of went viral, I think. This epic rant about how stretching is not a big deal. About how back in the 1950s and 40s, they didn't do any type of stretching. He's do you think they cared about stretching and pulling a hammy when they're running across the beach of Normandy and all that? He was a character. He was kind of fun, but yeah. I'm a sucker for sports documentaries, so it's one reason I watch it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with film documentaries or animals or nature or something like that. Like my wife was watching one about like glaciers and mountains the other day, and I'm like getting bored. I started playing with my phone, and she's like, this is interesting, and I'm like, I'm bored out of my mind. I'm like I got to do something else, and then I'll switch to something else. Like I'll watch just about any other documentary. Like I like history.
Yeah.
So like we watch Mysteries at the Museum, because it's like, you know, they'll take an artifact and then they'll give like the whole history behind it in a museum, you know, a random museum in the U.S. And I really enjoy that, because then you get to kind of see like what this piece of history has touched as it's gone along before it came to the museum. And so it's very interesting. And I think that's part of like old man brain starting, because I'm like, information, and it's not like, you know, mindless information. Like I've kind of cut off the point of like picking up new television shows, just because I don't find basically I'll give it a few episodes. I'll maybe watch like 2 to 5, you know, to kind of give it a run to kind of see. And usually, like, if it's a new show, like 5 episodes really isn't going to cut it. Usually, if it makes it to the second season, that's the kind of determination. Because that's when they kind of get the flow going. Because every Star Trek series, the first season is terrible. And then you move on beyond the first season, and it's great. Because they actually get to evolve the characters. But like Big Bang Theory, I know that, you know, some that's ending, right? Yeah, it's ending, which I'm kind of glad about, because that's one more show I get to take off my list. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the evolution of them taking them from the stereotype of nerd geek to fully functional people, where it seems more like they're on the lines of where we would be in that sense, instead of this stereotype. But I'm kind of excited about Last Man Standing coming back, even though they've changed cast members again on a couple people. But
that's back again, man. I thought is that Fox? It's on Fox now, man.
Which Disney owns, and Disney owned ABC, which got rid of it the first time.
Yeah, what it was originally a Fox. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually a Fox property, which is why like ABC like wasn't making a lot of money off of it, because they were like, I don't know how the TV deals.
Well, they said it may have been, but I think that they had said that, you know, like Tim Allen's coming back to ABC, you know, and I think that he was like fully owned by ABC at one point. I mean, I think he owned the rights to it or the properties to it for the most part. But
so it went to like CMT for a while or something like that, didn't it?
They were going to put it on CMT, then WGN, and then which I didn't even know WGN was still around. And then
nowadays.
Yeah, and then Fox is like, yeah, we'll take it, and then I'm like, oh, and then Disney owns them once more. So it's kind of full circle there.
Which I don't think it's official yet. I think it's nearly official, but they haven't officially done everything. But it's on its way.
But they've started moving around people of high power positions over different properties, and like they've moved people from Fox to be the head of like all of the TV for ABC and Fox, and so it's kind of amusing to watch them play musical chairs with people that are doing their job correctly at Fox with people at ABC that just don't have it anymore. Because like I don't watch anything on ABC anymore. I haven't watched anything on their station in years, like other than Last Man Standing.
I don't know. I don't think I do. I mean, wife does. My wife watches like a lot of the Thursday stuff, like the Scandal, even though it's over, and she watched Grey's Anatomy and what's that other show? How to Get Away with Murder. She used to, but yeah, I don't watch a lot of TV, like, because right now the only consistent news show I was watching, I sort of like stuff on HBO and like was Superstore from that was on NBC, which is again it's because my wife and I both like it. It's like the Walmart version of The Office. Literally, because it's like them working at a superstore. But I find that show really funny. But I don't think it's really gotten that much attention. Again, I watch it through Hulu. If it's not on Hulu, I'm usually not watching it because we don't have cable. I only have an antenna in like streaming. So if it's not like I don't watch anything live. I don't only unless it's sports. Even then, not as much. But I don't even know what networks. So that's the thing is like sometimes I don't even know what network something is on. Like if you ask me what channel Superstore is on, I think it's NBC. What day of the week is it on? I think it's on Thursdays.
Yeah, I don't have a clue
when what day shows are on, but
I
don't know if I watch anything on ABC. But
I don't watch anything live anymore, and I think that's just because I just don't have time. I enjoy watching things in rerun, but I don't watch anything live anymore, and I don't really review a lot of shows anymore either. I kind of just, I mean, like Star Trek I'll do when it's on for Future Imperfect, but really, I mean, I'm kind of more on talking the general geek conversations now on the show, and I enjoy like the just kind of riffing back and forth, or talking about a couple news articles or tech or gaming or something. But I really don't dive into a lot of it anymore.
Yeah, I get that because I never really review TV all that much, but honestly, the show I watch the most, what I end up doing, we end up just rewatching a lot of the same shows over and over again. Because like if I do watch TV, it's usually like as something in the background while I'm like working on something. So I have like 5 shows I rewatch all the time. I rewatch The Office over and over again. Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is like the ultimate comfort TV show to me because it's a very pleasant show. It's just it's the first season was a little rough, but like it's such a like heartwarming show, and I watch that a lot. We watched West Wing over and over again. I watched The Wire over and over again, which is not a very heartwarming show, but it's just really good. And something else I watch over. Sometimes I used to watch The League a lot over and over again, but it's not on HP. It's not on Hulu anymore. But I've been going through recently Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is that's a fantastic show. But
I don't really know where else we can take this.
That's all. Yeah, I know. It was kind of I don't know. We've been talking for a while. A lot of rant. I know I've been rambling. It's kind of what I do.
Hey, but it's good conversation, so I'm good with that. So, anything you want to promote before we go?
I just say check out our YouTube channel, Geekcast Radio. I have a decent schedule going on right now. Usually on Wednesdays, I drop a comic book haul video. I also do different videos. I do what are called must-read comic videos, which I pick out some of the best comics and tell you why you must read them. I also do Graphic Thoughts, which is a video about different graphic novels I'm reading, kind of just like a grab bag of different things. And then just one-off reviews of kind of major comics. Like Marvel recently had their Fresh Start, which was like their next relaunch. And I tried to review, I think I reviewed every major new release and kind of talked about if it wasn't any good, if it was actually a fresh start. And I will say, I'm a Marvel fan because that's when I kind of grew up, but I kind of like it, Marvel, DC, and everything. But Marvel Fresh Start is actually ended up being quite good compared to all their other Fresh Start stuff. You can find that all on the channel. Really been last few months is kind of I've been transitioning over to the YouTube stuff. So, but also Comic Con GRs. I have like 3 or 4 episodes banked. I just need to edit them, and those will be out soon as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely something people should check out if they want to know more about the comics, Marvel, their fresh content. I noticed that you get a lot of comments on there, which is good, as opposed to the current website where we're lucky if we see comments.
I get comments here and there. It's what I find is there's actually a decent like comic book community within YouTube that I've kind of got into a little bit. And there's also really bad like any community. There's a really bad really toxic community out there. But I've been able to like I think really get into where some of the people that are a little bit more positive, like person I tend to pick, I shout out a lot, someone like Sleepy Reader, who is this is a comic book YouTube creator. He's been doing it forever. He's been doing it for like 6-7 years, I think. And like him and some other ones, like trying to think of people off the top of my head. Ghost Critic, that's another one I tend to look at, and Altered Ego Comics and Pop Culture Philosophers is another YouTube. Like I think there's a lot of good content out there, and just being able be a little bit part of that community. I'm like the rookie to like the veterans that have been doing it for much longer than I have. But it's been interesting just seeing it and kind of being able to have the communication. But I'm really excited for the new website because I think we can kind of merge the two and hopefully kind of get the traffic of both. And then, I would say go to Geekash Radio, because it's always a lot more fun being and interact with people, either social media or on the website.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to launching the new site just because we'll be able to do that. Plus, I think I'm working on some ways where we might have some added benefits for people as well. Plus, I'm trying to come up with a way that we can share some of this automatically to our various other social platforms besides just Facebook, Google, and Twitter. Reddit, some other spots like automated.
Nice.
So there's a lot of stuff that it's funny because a lot of the content on the new site that I'm working on is stuff that we brought up in meetings back in 2012, 2013, and 2014 that I didn't have the technical skills to do at the time.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the benefit of having the stuff backlogged and archived is I can go back and like, oh, these were ideas we had long ago. And
the thing I need to learn more about video edit. Like if you know good, like I want to try to get like like cool video logos and stuff like that for the videos one day, and maybe I'll do some more editing. But that's cool. I'm like I said, I'm really liking what you're building. And if you're listening to this, check out the video because like Steve showing what it's going to look like. So I think it's going to be like all new and high tech and all that great stuff.
Oh yes. It'll be a lot of fun. So until next time, you can reach us on social media at myself at SCP21 or at Altered Geek, and yourself, sir.
I am at MovieRevolt.
And until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.